Welcome to the podcast where we're all friends because we love all things Bravo, pop culture, and can't stop talking
Having
about
so much fun.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Bravo should be fun.
I'm Caitlin Marshall, your host here at Besties by Bravo,
Allegedly allegations.
where we're in a safe space to gossip, share our thoughts, and opinions
That girl's a liar. That girl's a liar.
about the Bravo celebrities, shows, and celebs we love, hate, and
that's when
love
Chef
to
goes,
hate.
Oh, suddenly now you're so religious?
So be cool. Don't be all uncool.
He went on a podcast claiming he had a threesome with two women from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Immediately, I was like, I wonder if it's Brandy and Carlton.
Because sometimes things may get a little, well, ridiculous.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. There's a spider that is coming down. Hold on. Ah! Oh my god!
It's like the Blair Witch Project or something. All you can hear in the background is, oh my God, has anybody seen my ring?
Oh my god.
I don't want to ruin the party or anything.
Have you seen my ring? Oh my God, can you look on the floor for my ring? God, someone's gonna kill me.
Don't mess with me because I will come.
What? Oh.
Feel free to leave that in for whatever entertainment purposes.
I'm so glad you're here to enjoy the fun. So, thank you for joining me on Besties by Bravo.
Hi, besties. Thank you for joining us today. I have Georgio back with me this week. Hi, Georgio.
Hi everyone.
Yes, thank y'all for joining again. I'm gonna warn you, I'm a little bit of a dizzy bee today because my allergies, we were just talking about that, are, out of control. The way I am feeling just a little out of it. So bear with me. Thank God Giorgio's here for support because this podcast, who knows where it would go. And we were just talking about how not a lot of Bravo gossip has come out since I last came on here on Tuesday. I am on the verge of sneezing. Bear with me. I'm trying to fight through it. Nope, I'm about to lose that. But excuse me.
Bless you. Bless you.
It's like my allergies were like, hey, we want to prove just how bad they are right now. Thank you. Oh, man. So, yes, Colorado. Oof. Itchy eyes, scratch, itchy throat, the sneezes, all of it. But we're here. We're rocking through it. We're going to survive. The gossip hasn't been intense. And I usually feel like there's something to talk about. You were bringing up a few points about, maybe Dorit looking at that chopping block for Beverly Hills, but is that necessarily super new news?
I feel like this comes up every season with Dorit, at least the last few. Listen, I think people would love nothing more than to not have her on.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of it. Keep her, don't keep her. I really don't care.
Make up your mind.
At this point, she's just there for, in my opinion, comedic relief because she's getting picked on about something. Andy's yawning at her. It's just, I don't care.
Yeah.
Let's get some other players in there, though, that actually will not be deer in headlights. I'm tired of it. And don't bring any of these iconic women back on the show that are dealing with substance issues to deal with their own anxieties and traumas. I'm talking to you, Denise Richards.
Yeah.
That was a bust.
Well,
I'm on one today, if you haven't noticed.
That's okay. You can be on one.
I'm not pissy. I'm just
you're passionate.
I'm zingy. That's a better word? I'm zingy today.
I feel the
this
zing.
TikTok ban is kind of infuriated me, not so much because of the TikTok thing, but it's the bigger message around what that says. And I'm getting countless messages from a lot of my followers who have built successful businesses. Shout out to all of you guys who built successful businesses on this app and changed your lives. I'm sorry that our government is doing this to everyone, but what they don't understand is a lot of people were living off of the income that was coming from that app, that everyone's like, oh, it's terrorizing us, it's poisoning our brains. So, there's that. And there's no housewives to distract me from that. So
Right?
yes, bravo. What are you doing?
It's wild that there are no housewives on right now. And that's the thing too. This TikTok ban, in case anyone was curious, if you look up what a lot of these lawmakers have invested in, and if you are a lawmaker, a politician, your information on what you have invested in, your tradings, is public information. And Democrats, Republicans alike have invested in Meta.
Of course.
And, that's the thing is, I will say for people who have, I've done social media stuff for a very long time. And Instagram does not, for people who make a living off of their videos on TikTok, Instagram does not pay like that. Just to give you an idea, and this is like a full disclosure type of thing, in order for me to make like $20 off of one video, I have to get roughly 1 million views on Instagram. So we're not rolling in it.
It's not about that for me. It's like, fine. If you don't pay, you don't pay. That's fine. It's a platform nonetheless. And I utilize it for a marketing tool, also a way to communicate the news that's going on in Bravo world to the audiences that want to know. But when you're talking about an app that does provide those things, and then you go and you pick that one app out of all of them, because if we're going to talk about privacy and data and security issues, then let's bring all of the platforms to the table. Then all of them should be banned.
Yeah.
Because we've had our data sold.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Meta, are you kidding?
T-Mobile, we went through this with Meta, we went through how many other companies accidentally, oops.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a joke, and everyone knows it's a joke. But this is not a political podcast, so
no, it's just
not there.
But it is something affecting our lives and our way
is.
to communicate with our community. I do hear that they are bringing Vine back, which it's
go for it. Good luck.
I mean, I think y'all, for people who don't do what we do, 60 seconds. Wow. The way you have to speak so quickly.
I built my TikTok platform on 60-second recap. So I'm more than happy to go back to that. So Vine's
I'm the one who's gonna struggle. I cannot do something in 60 seconds.
Oh, you can.
I'm too long-winded. God, I'm like, but there's one more thing I want to say.
That's what the podcast is for.
Damn it, you're right. All right, fine. You and I, and just so y'all know, if you are wanting to get some Valley recaps, listen to Georgio Says podcast, because we had a ball recapping this last episode of the Valley. It was so good.
Yeah, it's up on the video version's up on my Patreon, and the audio version will come out later. But yeah, it was a hoot. That episode was actually like a really good one to recap, just because. But I have to say, Vanderpump Rules was. I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised at how they've turned this vehicle around this season, because I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a whole season 11 of Sandoval part 2. And I don't know if I can hang, but it's not really been like that. And I would say midway through, they did a good job of trying to steer it. Yes, it's still there in the background, but we're not focusing entire episodes on just that. So it's been nice to see that. Okay, well, at least they got other stuff to talk about.
Yes, and that's the thing too. I think this episode showing Ariana's emotional state in this episode really leans and lends more information to the fact that she just needed a little bit more time, I think. And I think we would have seen a different show if she had been, more so in the space that she was in this particular episode. You know, I because I think that again, and we'll get there whenever it's brought up. Oh, well, Sandoval was 6 months ago. Because they're saying, oh, Scheana wanted to read her daughter Halloween books, so I'm assuming this was late September, early October, and so that's still. It would still be fresh as hell for me. I'd still be like, you know what? I can't be in a room with you without wanting to murder you. I can't have that conversation. And that's just me being completely honest about me as a person. So I can only imagine, the forcing of the proximity of him being around her. But at this point, should we just go ahead and jump into the episode?
Oh,
I
yeah, there's a
mean,
lot to dig into.
Yeah.
There were some definite highlights.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. With Jax showing up at James and Allie's house, he is seeming to really, no matter what, stick with this contrived shtick that he just showed his hand immediately in his purpose of showing up on this episode was to try and have a fight with Katie. Barely happened. But because you know what? Katie's like, bitch, I have boundaries, Jax Taylor.
I don't like you.
I loved it. I loved it. One good thing coming out of the season, I feel like people are starting to finally see that Katie's not the monster that Tom Schwartz wanted us all to believe, Tom Schwartz and Tom Sandoval, that she is, because she's not. Thank you. See, that's why we're besties too. Because we get this stuff. We get it.
I understand more why she was the way she was, but I also, in that same breath, would love to see a happier edit of Katie to balance that out, because I think what's and I'm sure she's aware of this.
Oh, yeah.
What's ended up happening here is because of the transgressions and the issues between her and Schwartz playing out on the show, basically since she's come on screen, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we know.
Right.
So they lean into that, rightfully so, because that's what her situation is. But there are moments where when she's being funny or not angry, or like she's going to rip your throat out for going to have a hot dog with Joe, like I would like to see more of those.
Agreed.
Lighter moments, because I know that she's not like this all day. I can't.
No, that'd be exhausting.
Commercial. I was like, oh, I like you. You're funny.
Yes, and it's because we know Sheena has in her past been an actor, and she was just on an episode of Lopez versus Lopez.
I know.
Sheena and Brock.
I know. God forbid that was Ariana that got that spot.
Oh my God, she would have had to run it by Sheena first.
We're never going to hear the end of that appearance, by the way, because this is the first big thing she's gotten since Sandoval. No Dancing with the Stars, no Bic commercials, no battery, nothing.
Y'all, they are in the Screen Actors
That's because
Guild.
She had proximity to Katie.
Let me just share a little bit of information with you. See, I told you I was out of it. I swear I have not been drinking or doing drugs. I am just very I was telling Georgio I woke up this morning and I couldn't even open my eyes. So
if this was a reality show, they would just edit the shit out of this and make you look crazy.
Well, that would not be hard to do.
Then I'd have to go to lunch with you and be like, what's going on with you?
What's going on, Caitlin? I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. I saw you drink a 4th glass of wine the other night, and you know what? I think we have to talk about this.
You can have your cocktails or you can take your Percocets, but you can't do both.
Damn. I hate having to make decisions like that. They say life is all about choices. Well, and I already forgot what I was going to say. Yes, the commercials. Okay. The amount of money that can be made, and this is coming from having been in more than one national commercial for a major brand, that can be made from these type of jobs and deals. Chili's, when they ran that, I would be immensely surprised if Katie is not in SAG now from, doing various promos, things like that. And it would just behoove her to be in SAG with what she does. It would just be wise. Having that protection of the union is always a good idea. The every single time that commercial airs. Now, I think they're only airing it on Bravo, maybe NBC, Universal channels. That is my guess. And that's what makes the most sense. But let's say it were national broadcast, they would easily make bare minimum, I'd say $80,000 from that. Because every single time it plays, they get those residuals. That is a check. And the way your commercial is about to get run, your first check is like 90 cents. And then you check your mailbox every Friday and you're like, holy shit, I made $6,000 this week and I didn't even have to leave the house. I left the house for 6 hours on a Tuesday, filmed this, and I'm done. And that's not including that day rate they got, which their agents could negotiate higher than the average base rate for a SAG actor to be in a commercial. My thought, and I'm not meaning to completely jump ahead, but my thought was if Brock is that far back on his child support, honey, that one Chili's commercial, unless Brock owes like $3 million freaking dollars, they could have figured out a way to start paying that off so that Summer Moon could meet her siblings. And I'm telling you,
no, why is Sheena paying with her Chili's check for Brock's past due? I'm sorry. Does Brock not have access to Instagrams? Have we not been watching him build his landscaping at their new house that Sheena bought?
Yeah, but that still doesn't pay that much. If Brock's not getting a direct.
It's not zero.
No, but let me just say this.
He's on a very well-known show. I cannot imagine that if he does get a deal and the fact that he's married to Scheana, that he's not going to get a nice little chunk of change. I'm not saying it's like $30,000 a post, but by all means, you're not sitting at home making $0, my friend.
That's my point too, is that now this may be controversial because I also am in agreement with your opinion. If that is your child's siblings, you don't have to pay for all of it. You can help contribute because that is important for your child to meet their siblings. And I think Brock should be paying the 80%. Yes. And we don't know what they're doing about that. But I found it very interesting that, they're getting this new house. And yes, we know Scheana paid for that. But I also found it interesting how much they harped on the fact that Brock is making no money. And we got more of those, and we got those flashbacks about how Brock's not seeing his children because of the back payments and child support. I'm so sorry, y'all. My throat is like on fire. It's taken me a minute to spit things out today. And it's easy to forget the DV issue that he had with this ex-wife. And it does sound like they were together very, very, very young. No excuse whatsoever. But I think my whole point is there is a way that backed child support could be getting paid off to where those children could be in his life. And I'm not seeing that that's happening, at least from what we know.
You know what? I agree with you, actually. I do. Because Scheana knew this going into marrying this man, that he was behind on his child support. So yeah, no, you should have flipped the bill immediately because you should have just owned it all together. You decided to stay with that man and have a baby with him, knowing that he's not even seeing his first child. But now he's got to glow up, honey. Now he's got to glow up. Now your first kid from Australia is going to see you on the back of a bus with Scheana Shay, good as gold.
Mm-hmm.
But you still can't see your child? How many seasons has it been since you've come on this show? You haven't made a dime? You haven't put a dent in that? And I don't believe that the mother at this point would not allow him to see the child, knowing that at least he's got a platform in which he at least will be making some money. So I don't buy that either.
See?
You've moved on with your new family, sir. And I don't care how you want to slice and dice it.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to see your child in Australia, you would do everything in your power to make it happen. You're not.
1000%. No,
You're
and
not. So now your first kid's going to watch you build a whole new home with Summer Moon, and nothing against the child. It's not their fault.
no.
It's the adult's fault because they put themselves in these situations and then go on public TV and then boast about it. So now you're rubbing it in their face. You're not even quietly moving up and upgrading your
Nope.
life. No, we're going to shove it in your face. Look,
And-
babe, I made it to America. I made it.
Well, but I think he has 2 kids in New Zealand.
That's even worse.
That's what I'm saying.
So Scheana, what then? Yeah, cut a check. Cut a check. Because you know
See?
what? You look just as bad sitting next to him, knowing what you know, and sitting there patting Summer Moon on the back, like, hi, sweetie. Like,
And she knows because she brings it up.
I'm
She
sure she
says
knows
to
it in
him,
his
this
face
is
all
your
the time. Sheena's the type of woman that when they get into fights, she reminds him of how much he's a shitty dad. Because why do you think she brought up that this is his second chance to show up and be a good dad? She's a manipulative person. Let me watch where I'm going here, because I'm forgetting we're live and I'm not just talking to you.
Oh, listen, I did that.
I'm
I
being
did that
honest
on
with you. That
Thursday.
conversation was wild
Tuesday.
because I was like, wow, she knows she's in control of this relationship.
And she likes that. And even on the after show, Ariana pointed out Scheana typically chooses relationships that she wears the pants.
Mhm.
And you know what? I don't think, listen, there's a lot of times in relationships, there's a specific balance in dynamic that has to happen because some people need that type of thing. It's very rare that a relationship is so perfectly equal because there are always areas where someone does more on this and the other does more on XYZ, right? But I'm struggling with having a lot of empathy for Scheana, which she makes it hard to have that empathy as it is with her behavior and the things she says, her very much what about me isms, not the what about isms. It's the what about me isms that are constant with her. So it makes it easy to have an issue with her. But then on top of it, she's very clearly aware. Because for me, with what we do and the way we talk about it, I very much, and I've said this before, try to put myself in that person's position before I jump the gun on judging someone, right? And I know
Yeah.
you do that too.
I
So
try my hardest.
It's right?
Because I know it's reality television. I know we're getting an edit. I don't look at it one for one. I try to keep that in the back of my mind, and I'm not completely unbiased 100% of the time, but I
can't be.
damn sure try to be and stick to what's happening on the show and not so much the noise outside of it. I also want to point out that my recap of the show, I was on my podcast yesterday, I come off a little bit more understanding about this conversation between Brock and Scheana from the standpoint of I did agree with Scheana in the sense that the misogynistic roles that are forced on people is stupid, unnecessary.
100%.
And you know what? Why is it wrong that Scheana is the breadwinner and he chooses, or not chooses, but he's staying at home with their daughter? I don't see that as a problem. If it works for you, what is it my business? And what does that have to do with me? That's what I never understood about those views in general. Because maybe because I'm not in a typical hetero relationship, so that wouldn't really work anyway. But like, there's areas of life that people are just naturally going to be leaders in. And I mean that not in the like big way, like you're king of the jungle, but like there are some things that roll off your back that won't roll off the other person's back. And so you guys learn how to just let the dust settle, if you will. But like, sometimes I feel like the edit of the show is such a put on by the people that sometimes, like today, I'm reflecting back and I'm like, on the show, I can understand that. But I know what's really going on here. You guys are setting this up in a way to make it look like, oh, he's not working. See? It's not because I'm not trying to pay.
Right?
I can't work.
That's what I'm saying. And
so she's like, but I love that you're at home. It really is helpful to me.
And I'm sure it is. You know,
of course
anything, especially when they're this age, when the kids are not in school, it is until and it doesn't stop being a 24/7 job, but until they are in school, it is so 24/7, 365 that in a way that you can't even believe, and that it's like someone you're like, well, yeah, someone's taking care of a kid all the time, obviously, but then, so I get that, yes, he is helping. But you should see my notes here, Giorgio, because I literally wrote down, look at me agreeing with Scheana on something about how the gender roles in a household don't have to be that the woman stays at home. Because I think that it's not fair at a certain point where men get to, and I hear what I'm saying. I am saying get to, if they get, a family leave from where they work, things like that. Women, if men get to go back to work where they get to speak with other adults throughout the day and not be needed so imperatively, like life or death needed for however long it takes, depending on how long someone breastfeeds, things like that. If they do or they don't, whatever works for you, that's a whole other discussion. But the way that child needs you for that period of time, and they need their father, but the way they need their mother is always going to be different in that beginning stage. So, why shouldn't a woman get to go back to work when they are finally, and again, please understand how I'm saying this, when they're finally having a little bit of freedom of their own when it comes in regards to their own children? And I was shocked to be agreeing with her about something, but yes, I did agree with her. And this whole conversation too, I mean, does it surprise you that Scheana had wanted to have a huge anniversary blowout party while Brock just wanted to have dinner with her? That should not be a fight.
Do you know how exhausting it must be to be in a relationship with Scheana?
She wanted to vlog their anniversary dinner. Give me a break. Put your fucking phone away.
She's probably the most self-absorbed. Well, we see it on the show, and I don't think it's a put on for the show. I really 1000% believe that she really thinks everything should revolve around her first
and foremost.
So, like, even if you're having the best day and you have the best news, she's now talking about the fact that she's been diagnosed with OCD and now she's crying because it has to go back to her.
She's the type of person that doesn't ask, how are you, to see.
She doesn't care.
How are you? She's waiting for you.
How am I?
Yes.
How is Sheena Shea doing today? Has anyone asked that? No. So I'm going to tell you anyway.
Oh.
I would have a field day with her as a friend because I would have to just be like, you know what?
Yeah, you would knock her down a peg real quick, and that's what friends do.
You have to. You can't let personalities like that run around wild like that because then when no one checks them, they think that they're
a menace.
They just think it's perfectly acceptable to just walk around making every single thing about them.
Yeah, which makes it sound like right. Which makes it sound like we're going to end up agreeing with things Sandoval said later in the episode, but it's not necessarily that. But I mean, sometimes when facts present themselves, you got to go ahead and admit them. And, Scheana has blamed multiple on she has blamed the fans' dislike of her on her edit. She's never had a good season, blah, blah, blah. Honey pie. We see you vlogging every second of your life. We see the way you and Brock have conversations. I mean, even this is what's hard because I know for women, I don't like using the word nagging. It makes me insane. It makes me insane because if women, I said this on Tuesday regarding, Lindsay and Carl and her wanting him to get a job. If women apparently don't say this if they're in a heterosexual relationship and they're like, well, honey, oh, my big, strong man, could you try and do it this way? It makes me just so happy. I know you're the best at everything. So I think it'd be even better.
Oh, no, I don't care. Girl, guy, they.
Right.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not licking your asshole to basically tell you that this is what I'm looking for. Like, that's ridiculous. I understand that that's what, unfortunately, a lot of men in hetero situations are expecting when they're being met with any type of anything feedback.
Yeah, I was going to say criticism, feedback.
I think the issue is that for me, two things can be true at the same time, right?
Definitely.
I don't like Sandoval, but he could also be telling the truth. And that was a moment where I was like, yeah, enough's enough, Scheana Shay. He didn't invent cheating. He didn't invent the concept of best friend sleeps with other best friends. He didn't come up with that concept.
No, and that's, the
It's
thing
just
too.
wild.
The way in this one flashback talking about Sheena and Brock, how she was like, well, you fucked up the laundry again. And then the way he talks back at her, though, I'm like, you two are so miserable. I can't. It was just, I don't know. Listen, I give it 2 years max before we see this.
Listen, there's days where I would pay for some of that self-esteem that Scheana Shay has pumped into her veins. I really would. I would pay a good dollar for just a pinch, really. I don't need a lot, just a pinch. Because sometimes I'm like, what in the world?
And
I'm not, this has nothing to do with self-confidence. That's not confidence. That is just insecurity reeking through her pores and looking for validation everywhere she turns her head.
I think all I can imagine for Scheana is this: if you are in her presence, this is all you see.
What was that? Look at this.
She's reading all the comments. She follows her own hashtag, which fine. You have Google alerts for your name or anyone on the cast. You have 60,000 people on your stored locations. Find my phone, find my friend, whatever. It's wackadoodle time. Yes. What's happening, dear? Why do you have that many people stored in there? That's a bigger issue to me. It's not about the fact that you're concerned about the location of all those people.
No.
What's going on up here?
It's a repeat of Good as Gold. Just
also, don't tell me that you were able to buy this second house now without Sandoval money.
It's true. It's true.
So no, you didn't get Dancing with the Stars, but you got a house in Palm Springs and you got a house just recently. Ariana just bought her fucking house. So,
and that's the thing too, is Ariana had pointed out, I believe last week on the after show, that everyone was like, well, just for like your peace of mind, for your mental health, why don't you leave the house? Y'all, mental health can also be tied very heavily to finances.
Well, but to be honest, like I understand why people would say that. And yes, in short term, I would quickly say that too. But when you look at it bigger picture, I wouldn't fucking go anywhere either.
Yeah.
Because the minute you leave, you're not going to be able to come back. She knows that. Someone smart told her that. Someone very smart in her corner said, whatever you do, don't you walk out that door.
That's what they say in divorces too.
Are cleared. Like, don't. And I just saw someone the other day talk about this. So it dawned on me again. I was like, I know everyone's looking at it like, why are you still there? But because trust me, if it was a rental home, dear, she wouldn't still be there. Give me a break.
She'd be gone. Gone.
She'd be out. She just wants to be paid out properly, which is fair. It's fair.
I agree. Oh my God, this whole thing with James and Allie, where James will not go to her best friend's wedding in Ohio for 4 days that Allie is in the wedding because of Hippie.
I'm not going either. Bye, Allie.
Oh my God, fuck both of you, because I'm like, if you don't.
No, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be anxious the entire time because you can't seem to understand what the dog means to me. Now, if this was her cat and there was an issue, let's be clear. I think that was a little unfair of the girls to gang up on him like that. It's a wedding. It's not her sister's wedding. It's her friend. She's in it. You're not a guest. James is not walking you down the aisle. So essentially, he's just going to be standing there sweating and panicking not knowing if something's going to go wrong. I'm not leaving my dog with a stranger to appease people. I'm not.
You and I are
No,
going to disagree.
I know. This is going to be the debate. I was even like, I don't even know if I should say this on my recap, because I was like, look, I'm Team James here. He's not ready. He just got the dog back. If this was 2 years into it, then fine. I would say, okay, let's try to then introduce the dog to other people, perhaps.
Okay, let me remind y'all of something though. There are so many people that James already knows that could come watch Hippie. So, there are people on this cast who are dog people. Lisa Vanderpump, do you know she would totally take Hippie over? Or they could bring the cats over to someone else's house. I know that's more difficult when it comes to cats, but if it's about that, there are ways to work this out. Y'all, come on. And I'm not saying this in a way that it's just a dog. I understand that. But at the same time, you're leaving for 4 days, not 4 weeks or 14. Get the fuck out of the house. Find someone aside from your brother. What about your mom? Who knows where his mom is living? She's sober.
She's
she could
not
handle
leaving
taking
his
care
dog with his mother.
Well,
Have
then
we
he
met
needs
her?
to find someone who he can.
Here's what I have a question about. Since everyone was so concerned at his house about, why are you not just going with the alley, and why is she suffering, and she comes to your DJ sets and supports you. Okay, Katie, do you want to watch Hippie? You're the loudest one here, doll, and you the first one to say, I have fur babies too. Then do you want to watch Hippie? So that Allie doesn't...
He could have found someone.
Does Katie want to watch Hippie is my question. You were the loudest one. Everyone else, Ariana, you saw her. She wasn't chiming in that much because she knew if I chime in, I'm going to have to be like, I'll watch Hippie. You know what? Because that's how I would
be able
feel.
to get out of the house. Yeah.
I would feel that way. If I'm going to say this to this person, then I'm going to offer then to be like, look, I think it's important you go, James, and support her. I understand your brother is the only person you feel safe with, but I would hope that you would feel safe with me to leave Hippie with me. I'm more than happy to take care of Hippie for 4 days. I have dogs. I would not mind it at all. Where was that conversation?
I don't know, but
get Katie on the line.
I still think that when I tell you, so living in LA, there are pet sitting services that you get to meet them beforehand that I have used. You get to meet them. They are literally staying in your home, taking care of the pets. This is where I'm like, no, you've got resources. Go to the fucking wedding for 1 day then. He'd be fine.
It's a long flight for 1 day, isn't it, in Ohio?
Well, guess what? You get the best of both worlds. You only leave your dog for 24 hours and you go to the goddamn wedding. It's not like you'll be hungover getting on the flight.
Best of both worlds.
Yes. No,
look,
you are not choosing a dog over me in our relationship. Period.
Well, okay, fine, but she doesn't want to have kids.
Well,
so womp
she's
womp.
Also, how old is she?
She's 12. Like, what do you think? You think she's really sitting around? She's trying to launch a music career.
Yeah. She's not ready to have kids right now.
I'm going to tell you something. Don't be fooled by that little...
No.
Don't be fooled. She's a lovely girl, but don't be fooled and don't be stupid. There's other things going on there. She's just not as obvious about it. But let's be clear. The girl knows what she's doing. I'm just saying that if it was this important, then why aren't we being proactive rather
or bring
than
the dog with
yelling?
You.
Or why? I thought of that too. Why not fly with Hippie? He's clearly good on planes. They flew him to transport him and all that. So it's not like
they would have to buy another
service
seat,
animal
probably.
badge on him. That's easy breezy. Like, I don't know.
I think they were.
You know what? I forgot. And someone in the chat just said it. And it's true. At this point in the game, though.
Oh, you assholes are all against me. No, you're choosing me over your fucking dog. Okay.
But
y'all
listen,
are full of fucking
Kelly
shit.
brings
If
up
you
a
tell
good.
Me, no, y'all are full of shit. If you tell me you expect your partner to choose a goddamn dog over you, I love you, but no. Yes,
I'm going to be
Kelly,
honest. There have been many a times we have not gone somewhere because we have not had care for one of the dogs that's blind and can't hear. And I'm just
Okay, you have a dog who is disabled. That is different than Hippie. He would be fine for 24 hours. I don't care what anybody says. Y'all aren't convincing me. You can be against me. I don't fucking care.
But to be fair to Kelly's point, he's had issues being aggressive because of when dogs are like that, it's because they have no sense of safety or they're always on defense. And I think partially
read the comment first before we continue, just for audio too. About Kelly said here in the YouTube live that Hippie was biting because he had anxiety, so you can't just have anyone watch him. No, do you know there are people who have specialties in Los Angeles? We're not talking about in Ohio, in Arkansas. I swear to you, from having to do my own research, when we would leave a pair of a dog and a cat who hated each other, if we wanted to go anywhere. Yes, there are people who have specialties in it. And it's not like James is making $10 an hour, I don't know, shoveling shit at the horse stables. He literally makes enough money to leave his dog with a person that he could meet beforehand. He has access to so many people. His family is in Los Angeles.
Okay, so I also empathize, though, because James is hypersensitive emotionally.
Yeah.
And I am that way, especially around like animals that I care for that are in my life. I'm very hypersensitive to it, to the point that others may look at it as ridiculous. And that's fine. I don't really care. But the point of the matter is I think the timing of this was, I just found it a little bit like Allie was using a moment to kind of shit on James. And I'm going off the edit of the show because she went to Katie and complained about it. And I know she felt some type of way at the facial structure place that they went to when he originally said it to her that his brother was no longer available to watch the dog, which means I'm not going to be able to go. Like, it should have been a conversation. Okay, so what would it take for you to feel comfortable to go? And like, I'm just saying, if that was me, everyone has their sensitivities to things, is what I'm saying. So whether it's a dog or it's a this or whatever, all I'm saying is the way in which it seemed to be handled based on the edit, it was a little insensitive, knowing that he had the dog basically taken from him. The narrative out there was that he basically made the dog aggressive, per Rachel. Then we find out the dog's at a shelter for no freaking reason because now the dog's biting at people. So now the dog could be put in danger. So then Lisa Vanderpump does the right thing, gets the dog out of there and gives it back to the rightful owner because it should never have left James, in my opinion.
It's hard to... What's hard about it is to make a decision form a well-rounded opinion for me from hearing Rachel's side, from hearing James' side, from hearing Lisa's side. It's all so very different from each side that it's hard. Where's that middle ground of truth that, regarding that aspect? The way, especially before I had my son, we would have to cook my dog's dinner, when we had the time to do that. So I understand like things change whenever you're at a point where I'm at, but I know what it's like to be like, no one, I don't know anyone who can take care of my dog, but at the same time, y'all both got to grow up and figure out a way to talk to each other about this animal situation, because James absolutely should have had a conversation with Allie, regardless if he was going to make the decision without her or not. That would have changed a lot of things, I think, in their dynamic. If James had been like, Allie Bally, Lisa Vanderpump has Hippie. Now, Lisa surprised him with him, but Lisa also shouldn't have just freaking done that. She should have called him first because he should have been able to give his partner a heads up. You can't just bring an animal, because an animal is that lifetime commitment, their lifetime at the very least. And so bringing in like another animal, you need to have a conversation with that person you just bought a home with. And that's living with.
Did he buy it with her? Or I thought he bought it by himself.
They live together regardless.
That's fine. But at the end of the day,
maybe he should have
communicated, hey, Lisa has transported Hippie. I'm
Yes.
getting him back. Not can I have him back? Because I'm sorry. The dog was here
that's
before
not
you,
the
Allie, and you brought your cat. So
that's not it. It's about just having a conversation,
no,
not
you should
asking
absolutely
permission.
have given her a heads up, not wait for her to see a dog run down the steps like that. Yeah,
That's
no,
part of what it
totally
is.
fair.
I
Totally
think that's
fair.
part of it. Is
Totally
that
fair.
she feels a complete lack of consideration that he didn't just let her know before being like, "Hey, look, we have me and my ex-girlfriend's dog," and all that comes with that loaded statement. But you got to figure out you can't it's much in the same way. Like if I had family and a network around me and I said, I need, my partner wants to go to a wedding that he is in for his best friend. And we'll even put it to if it were my kid, I'm going to see that I can exercise options, even when it comes to my tiny human being. And I wouldn't just completely dismiss it by saying, well, no, bring the kid, have someone watch them, things like that. So, well, no, Kelly, it is different than someone finding your missing child. That's a human being. I love you, but no, it's not the same thing.
But I'm saying, but when
It's
someone
not.
doesn't have that to compare to, let's say, like I get the
Yeah.
whole you don't have
It's
kids,
totally
you don't
different, though.
understand. And you're right, we don't. I can't physically say I get the difference. To me, there is not a difference. There's not a comparison. I don't have a child in my life to care for, so I'm not speaking to that. But in terms of the communication around getting Hippie back, to me, we're picking on small things. I would be more upset with James about still having a pissing match with Sandoval regarding what Rachel did or didn't say. That would piss me off more than anything, because it's like, why are you still talking about it? Why? It's been over, like way over. So you're still trying to have a pissing match about what Rachel said on her podcast about the two of yous? Get a grip.
Yeah.
That's what you're worried about? I get it. He is not being considerate of her based on the fact that he basically is forcing her to take this dog on.
Well, there could have been a conversation about how they can, okay, well, are we getting him training? There could have been a greater conversation that would have given her a sense of control in the situation, whether or not she had any. Does that make sense? And she could have at least felt a part of the decision, whether it was decided or not. And sometimes giving someone that illusion means just as much as actually asking the permission. So, and this is not about, and this seems to be something that comes up way too often, and it drives me a little nuts when it comes up so often, where people compare dogs to children. And if someone doesn't have a human child that they consider to be, and that could be biological or not, if someone doesn't have a child that they consider to be their caregiver, I'll say, you know what I mean? Like that they view as an extension of their family. No, it's not comparable. You're comparing apples and oranges is the point, because every one of us who has kids had a period of time in our life when we didn't. So we know what it's like when we didn't have them. And I know what I still would do for my own dog. So I hate how it, ended up becoming a thing of Lala and James kind of going back and forth about, well, don't compare getting a nanny for my kid, because there is one thing that there is in common between trying to find a caregiver in the interim for an animal or a child is for kids, at a certain age, they can't tell you if something happened that was bad while you were not there. And so I can understand there are some comparisons there, right? But I think what it comes down to at the end of the day is everyone just needs to stop comparing children to the animals that someone loves and cherishes, and vice versa, because you can't compare two totally different type of loves that are literally at their core. I would do anything for you and want you safe, and I want you to feel loved, and I want to make sure you are healthy, happy, and well, because that's what the core value of it all is at the end of the day. is that you just want them to be safe, happy, cared for, well, feel secure, all of that. So, that being, if we can take that comparing children to animals umbrella out, it can just be about the fact that James needs to find more solutions for Hippie, because it's something that, from what we hear, he was biting down to. And again, this is why it's hard, because we can only take Rachel's word on one thing and then his word on another. And it's hard to know what the facts fully are, I guess. And I don't need to see pictures of Rachel's mom's finger, but that's where they need to find resources, because you can't be around a kid 24/7. You have to get a break. Same with animals need to interact with other animals. So you need to find resources for that.
Totally, 1000%. But as I will speak to my experience. We have fostered a lot of troubled dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and what I will say to that point, and I wasn't there, and I don't know what the reality of the situation was when Rachel and James had this dog together.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can say they both were probably shitty dog parents. I think they
Agreed.
both came in and out of that apartment. They didn't spend much time taking care of. This is where
And going on
I'm more
walks.
defensive over the dog than I'm empathizing with James. I understand where James is coming from as someone who's triggered, and maybe he's clearly learned something from this experience.
I think
So
I just understood you more on your feeling. You just said something important. You're more protective over the dog than about James.
Yes,
you care about
because
his
this is
feelings,
the
but
those are the ones that actually end up suffering or get thrown. This is why I'm so heated about people that just will get a dog to get a dog, but their lifestyle doesn't accommodate you having a dog. Are you home? No, you travel a lot. Oh, so your dog is just there as a prop? That to me speaks to a bigger issue of you don't need a dog.
right. And he
That's what
does
it really
travel a
boils
lot.
down to. But now you do. So now you have to take some sort of responsibility, because the dog can't go out and get a job and get an apartment and figure it out for himself now. Like, that's where the common sense for me doesn't click with people.
And that could have
Same
been the
thing goes with families
conversation.
that get rid of their dog as soon as a baby comes in.
Yeah,
Keep
no,
it straight.
no.
Don't use them as props. You can have your family, but if you knew you were going to have a family and that's what you were going to do, then don't get a dog.
Well, and that's the only thing too, is bearing in mind some dogs. We were very nervous with our dog for a minute there, that she came from. I'm not even going to get into the full story, but she was being abused herself when she was really just teensy puppy. And she started showing almost aggression toward McCoy as a newborn. And I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, if my dog were to come after my son, you're gone, period. I will not sacrifice my son's safety for my dog. My dog has, thank God, knock on wood, please God, because she still stresses me out sometimes, but I will never, ever choose my animals over my children, period. That is a hard no for me. Now, if someone just gets rid of an animal because they had kids and they decide they don't have the time for the animal, well, that's something you should have thought about beforehand. Period. End of story. You should have decided before you got the animals.
That's a very specific situation. We had that happen with Lucy Apple Juicy, right?
Yes.
Where Dorit was like, the dog snipped at my. That's perfectly understandable, and that is why when we fostered, the families that would come to adopt, bringing their kids that are roughhousing these dogs, and I would be like, no. That's not what the dog is for. This is why. This is the problem. So if I had my way, a lot of families wouldn't be getting a rescue for the simple fact that you don't even have your children trained to be around a dog, let alone a dog that's been through some stuff. Okay.
And that's the thing too, is getting your children to understand how to be around the dogs. That's been my biggest thing with McCoy, and or my dog's name is Ripley, you know, like Alien, Sigourney Weaver. Don't even ask. It's a long story why I decided to name her that. But you know, I'm trying to teach him, look, her ears are back. Her tail is tucked under. That means she needs space. Do not get on all fours and get in her face, because that's where it's like people also need to realize dogs, they have nature and instinct no matter how much they love you. If you don't, or how much they love any human, they can't, sometimes that's your own fault for doing stuff like that. So, that's where she and James, if they had just had a conversation beforehand where she felt included, where they could have discussed things like, okay, well, even though they have a house, living in LA, your dog, I mean, even if you had like places for them to walk around, you have to take them on walks and things like when it's too hot outside. What's your solution? Because you can't have those little paws on the pavement. You have to have certain things in mind before you bring them home. And if you can just map that out, if they could have, maybe they would have been able to think of other solutions rather than having this be a whole thing where she's sleeping in the guest room with the cat. I mean, listen, I think at this point, I mean, I like them together, but y'all are both choosing the animals over each other. So maybe that's what you need to do. Get your own space and have your animals.
It's called grow up and figure it out. They're animals. They're not like leprechauns that are going to stab you in this. Like, it's just... this is what I mean. It's become a very juvenile topic of conversation to make an issue out of, frankly, because it really should be cut and dry. Okay, fine. If we can't find a solution, James, then you're not going to come. But when I get back, we absolutely need to discuss how we move forward with something like this in the future, because I don't think it's fair to me that if I have something going on, that you're not going to be able to show up because your brother's not going to be available. Because let's be clear, your brother's not always going to be available when we need to go somewhere.
Exactly. Your brother can't drop his life
conversation that needs to be
dog
had,
sitting.
Not this like, just leave the dog anyway. Like, okay, Katie.
Excuse me. Sorry.
By all means,
scratching my throat.
Hippie is all yours for 4 days. You are the loudest one here. Because because I'm a smart ass. If I was in that scene, I would have perked up and been like, "Oh, so are you gonna watch him, Katie?" You're very concerned.
No, but I'm looking out for my friend Allie. Maybe
okay, great. Now she's your friend Allie, who also went out with Joe, and you didn't rip her neck out. But
you know what? That's true. That's a good point. That is,
and she misquoted Lala, saying that you were miserable. So let's calm down, Allie.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, you have a cat that seems to have issues as well, which is why it's on its own.
We are going to move on because we are almost an hour into this. And we have spent 40 minutes talking about a goddamn dog and cat.
Series.
Like, Georgia, we have to move on from this shit. I'm not talking about this fucking dog, this Labradoodle, that if y'all want to get pissy about something, I guarantee they bought him from a fucking breeder. So everybody shut up.
Cheers.
Goddamn
have fun at that wedding, Allie.
Jesus. You know what I would love, though? Oh, my God. I would love for Bravo to stop acting like we are all a bunch of idiots when Lisa pretends once again to feign shock, annoyance, surprise at Jax Taylor walking in.
I'm so sick of it. I was so sick of it when she made the face at Guillermo, who, shout out to Guillermo, who's the coolest man out there, for sitting through that conversation and not laughing in her face, for being so blatantly.
Was he sitting there the whole time?
He sat there for a majority of the time and just kind of was like, well, did you notice that our restaurant's busy? And she's like, who let it slip through the cracks? And it's like,
he's like,
this was your idea.
You're producing his new show.
You're cross-promoting the Valley. That's why we're doing this scene.
Come on.
How did he get in here?
What? And who was actually going to believe that Lisa, of course, Zach. Oh my God. I'm telling y'all, I'm out of it. I swear I am not on anything except
What's going on with you, Caitlin? We're really worried.
Maybe I need some sunglasses. It's very reminiscent of the Kristen
I'm
Cavallari.
telling you, they would have chopped you up, made you look all kinds of crazy, that Caitlin hates dogs. She has a drinking problem. And yeah, it 1000% would have been your season.
Caitlin, why are you wearing sunglasses inside?
You would have definitely had the hardest time at the reunion.
Because I like my new sunglasses, okay?
Jesus. We're supposed to pretend that we are shocked Jax doesn't know the word superfluous. There's just so much to be said about him in that moment where the way he tried to sound it out. Superfluous. Jesus fucking Christ, Jax. Okay.
I feel like Jax and Lisa called each other an hour before the scene, and she was like, I'm going to be real pissy with you, and I want you to be real pissy back, yeah? And then we're going to have a little go at each other. Like, I just feel like it's just so produced on her side. Like, I really wish she would have just been like, yeah, I don't fucking like him, but he's bringing money into my business, so
yeah,
I can let it slide. I would believe that over the Guillermo. What is this?
What are you doing here, Jax Taylor?
He's like, can I sit? She's like, if you must. Like, what?
Sure.
Are we trying to recreate like a Stassi moment?
You're not important enough to hate. Sit down. Oh.
Watch an all new The Valley right after this episode.
Exactly. Y'all, come on.
I hope you guys really out there did not buy that scene as authentic.
No. There's something that alludes to what is said later whenever they're all getting invited to James's pool party. And, well, Lala pretends like, oh, wait, let me call my husband and check and see if I can come to the pool party. And Brock's like, oh, Lala, you're calling me. Ugh. And Scheana gets this look on her face. Listen, baby doll, if that is something genuine, then why don't you have a talk with your husband about how you feel and then either decide to get over it or you need to, I don't know, do something. Come on.
Mm-mm.
So when they get over to the party, Jax has clearly been really enjoying a lot of parm on his Alfredo pasta. He can't even take his sunglasses off. I mean, he is.
God, he made me remember what it felt like to be on the snow. That is like remarkable. Like for a split second, I was like, oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like.
He stresses me out so much.
So much.
He's got like this angsty energy about him. Even when he looks calm, you just feel like he's going to be biting his nails. Like he's just constantly like,
yes.
What's next? What's next? What's
grinding
next?
his teeth and shit.
It's God.
We're skipping over the hippie conversation, but I think I finally figured out why Lala's so mad at Katie because Lala tried to say that she was Posh Spice and Katie was like, no, I'm Posh Spice. That's the real root of their issue. I just want to let y'all know that. So
issues going on there. But
it all started with the Spice Girls. Jax is going to say that I'm a father. As I'm sniffing my nose constantly. I'm a father. The kids at home. Happy wife. Happy life. Caveman. Brouhaha. Whatever.
I'm a dad. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, we know.
We
know.
So Jax is going to be bringing up to Katie, obviously, about how she mentioned these rumors and nastiness about Jax Taylor. And Katie makes the pretty much like wrapping it up comment on it in her confessional that he's just trying to blame her for the rumors being out there when Katie's like, I saw it on Reddit. And y'all know I love a good old, little Reddit cruising. There is some fantastic stuff on there. Let me just say.
Some interesting things on there.
Mm-hmm. It gets to the point where he's starting in on her saying, why would you do that to my family? Why don't you talk to Brittany? And she's like, because I don't like you. It's like, hey.
What else are you supposed to say at that point? Like, I don't like you. That's why. If that's not clear, I don't know.
Like after all this time. And, Katie points out that in her confessional, basically that this is why there was a strain on her relationship with Brittany. And we found out more in the after show. Yeah, Brittany texted Katie whenever she was moving out out of the home with Tom Schwartz and was like, "Hey, do you need any help moving?" Maybe instead, you can reach out, and Lala tried to make it a whole thing that, well, it has to be on Katie's terms, exactly when and how you reach out. I don't even think that's it. I think it's like, hey, instead of asking like a bullshit question, just ask, hey, are you okay? I heard you're getting a divorce. You're separating. At the same time, I'm happy to help you with moving out, but how are you doing? Don't make it about the move. But I guess Katie supposedly forgot to get back to her, which honestly, I don't.
Oh, okay. Brittany, you have enough fish to fry. You not getting a text back from Katie is not the end of the world. You guys were not besties. You were friends because you were in the group. You were on the same show. So naturally, but like, cut the crap.
Well, because that's the thing is like, as adults, sometimes people forget to text you back. You and I are so on the same page with each other on that.
Well, it's not, there's no agenda.
No,
some people, it's just not an agenda. Sometimes it takes me hours to respond to you. It's not because I'm just ignoring. I do that to people all day long. And then at a certain point, I'm like, oh shit, I got to respond to these people. It's not because I'm like, I see it and I'm like, ugh.
No, it's about it. As adults, I say this all the time, just because our phones make us physically available all the time, it doesn't mean we're mentally available all the time. So
but also everyone's got shit going on. It's not everyone's just sitting around by their telephone waiting for, maybe you might need something today. Like, it's
not the way it works.
That's where I don't appreciate when people hold that against people in those situations. It's like, that's not fair because everyone's different when it comes to those things. Some people are really on top of it, which is fantastic. I'm great.
Yeah.
That is not always my strongest suit. And sometimes I think I've responded in my mind.
Oh my God.
And then I go back and I'm like, oh my God, I never even typed this. Or sometimes I have like ADD moments where I've typed the whole thing out and then I'm like, oh, look over here. And then I like send it out and the whole message is sitting right in that box. Never sent it. Days go by, I go back and I'm like, oh shit.
I do the same exact thing.
What an asshole. I'm literally, this message has been dying to reach the other side. And it's just, nope. Hands off.
I do it all the time. I swear. I totally feel you. I don't know about you, but I kind of felt like Schwartz was trying to bait Ariana and get her hyped up because she'd been so zen this whole episode when he pulled her aside to tell her that he and Sandoval were speaking in hypotheticals about him possibly moving in. But he was only pulling her aside to tell her that he was not moving in to the home if she left. What is that?
So I'll tell you why he did that. And it worked out in the moment. I don't know if she was on some THC because she was real like,
she was chill.
Oh, not pissing me off tonight. I don't give a shit. She, I think at this point knows that Schwartz is harmless. He's just a little dumb puppy. With regards to how he tries to play off things. Now, is he calculated in other ways? We saw how he treated Joe. So that's not puppy-esque behavior. Well, kind of is. It's like when your puppy is just gnawing at shit and it's just like, okay, what are we doing here? But I think in the moment he was also trying to kiss ass to Ariana because he still wants a lifeline to her. But he would have been the biggest absolute dumbass if he actually went through with going along with refinancing, spending $22,000 to go live in a house that they both simply just can't afford. Let's be honest.
I mean, the
Lisa
idiocy.
Vanderpump called it out. She's like, you cannot keep up with that type of house.
No.
She meant that financially. She's like, look, I know what you make.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's different when you have two incomes from the same show
100%.
contributing. But if you're trying to buy her out, can you? No, you can't. That's why you talked all that mess. You knew from the get-go you couldn't buy her out.
No. And I love when Ariana said in confessional, this is probably hands down the most expensive bromance in history. And honestly, short of the royal times, I don't know why my mind went back there. Don't ask. Like I said, I am loopy today. I fully agree. Jeez. So Sandoval and Kyle Chan show up. And did you notice that Sandoval said this to Hippie? Did you notice Sandoval goes over to Hippie and goes,
If I ever talk to your mommy again, I'll tell her you say hi.
No, I thought he said, if you ever see your mommy again, tell her I said hi.
said, if I ever talk to your mommy again.
Oh, see, now that makes my blood boil. I wish you wouldn't have said that to me. 'Cause I thought
Stupid.
it was the other way around. I was like, ew, why would he say that?
This stupid imbecile. Scheana starts telling Brock, who's in the pool, and his bungee smugglers. Sorry, I can't help it. It has to come out that way. That it's time to go soon because she wants to put Summer Moon down herself. But Brock
Time to go, sweetheart. Time to get out of the pool. Come on.
And this is where I want to hear you people being like, no, I wouldn't leave my dog. Try and say to me that Sheena's crazy for wanting to go home and put her own kid down. Doesn't work both ways. But he goes, she's like, she wants to put Summer Moon down herself. And he says, or we can let the babysitter put her down and we can have some fun times together.
No.
No. The way Scheana was like fully a mother telling the 6-year-old boy it's time to go home and get out of the pool when she was like, I said, I would like to go. Would you like a piece of pizza? And then he just is like, oh, no, thank you. It's like, oh, their relationship bothers me more than Kyle and Amanda at this point.
Do you know why? Because she's got the wrong man at home, and not every man is capable of sitting at home. I don't care how many high heel boots you put on him and how many martinis you give him with a lollipop in it. He isn't built for that. And yes, it's sad and unfortunate that that's taking over his whole experience. Because I also said this on my podcast recap yesterday. When I would imagine if I know that I'm about to have a child, I can just kiss those types of nights goodbye now, because I am consciously making the choice to know that this is going to be a priority, not the Speedo by the pool at someone's house by an airport. That's not any shade to his house. I'm just being descriptive. I'm just saying that, like, you know, take the moments where you can, like Scheana, right? She's being a normal parent. We had our fun.
Yes,
we had
and
our
then
fun,
you go.
but we've got to go be parents now because I would like to put my daughter to bed myself. Yes. Also, the fact that she was able to leave her daughter with someone so that they could stay out and do that.
Agreed.
That should have been big enough for him to jump out of the pool, because you'll get more moments like that if you build trust with her and let her feel safe when she says, I want to go. Then you get, okay, let's go. Let's go. You take the win where you get it. That's where I was trying to say. Maybe I didn't say it as clearly on my episode yesterday, but I'm saying it now. I think if he would have, at that moment when she said it's time to go, he should have jumped out of that pool and been right there next to her to silently let her know, I know you're taking baby steps and I appreciate it. So I get it. Let's go.
The compromise of it. That's exactly, you're so right. It's the compromise of it, you know, because they did leave Summer with, I'm assuming, her mother while they went out to the hotel and had their, you know, evening with, for their anniversary. And so, you know, it takes time. Some people feel safe going ahead and leaving their kid with someone, and some people just don't. It's a scary thing the first time you do it, but she's going to be one of those people. She developed the PPOCD. It's going to take her a minute. He needed to compromise with her instead of berating her about it. When
this is where you see that he's still very immature.
Yeah.
And listen, I get it. Like, I'll be the first one to say, like, men don't start maturing, unfortunately, ladies, if you haven't figured it out, until at least 40. And sometimes they still don't. Look at Tom and Schwartz.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's not a guarantee. I'm just saying, on average, that's the moment where they start to be like, okay, I can't do that dumb shit anymore. I got to relax, you know, on that. Or I can't go buck wild here because I clearly have some responsibilities. I have a child now. I have a wife or a partner. I need to be there for them. And it's not about drinking out of red Solo cups until... No, I mean, I get it.
I
come
mean,
from just being that type of individual, and then to have it kind of be restricted in a way if you're not thinking that that's how it's going to go, right? Because you're like, I'm sure in his mind he was like, oh well, we'll get a babysitter when we want to go out, and it's like actually you're not, because now she has postpartum OCD and she has intrusive thoughts and she's not going to do that. So now what?
well, and that's the thing
where I think he's
too.
frustrated, and he has no job apparently. He's on the show.
Well, it's like at a certain point, those solo cup nights don't appeal to you as often, at the very least, as they used to, because sometimes keeping your peace at home is more worth the night out, at least as often, I should say. But she
energy to be going out
I
every other
know.
night, though. I don't even have kids. I just don't have the energy anymore.
I don't either.
God bless you all.
I don't either. So Sheena and Kyle, asks Kyle Chan if she's doing 2 songs at his whole thing where he's launching his own whiskey out in San Francisco. And she's doing both good as golden apples. And she asks Sandoval if he heard the song. And of course, he's saying it's just been a lot from her. And she does actually admit that, yes, she did capitalize on the Sandoval. Oh, I hate that I'm about to say this. But he is not wrong when he says that she was almost like 100 times more reactive than Ariana was to it all. And I would love to hear you say that to Ariana that week, that she went ahead and went off on you because, But he also says that basically, you're not involved in this, Scheana. Excuse me.
You were not involved in this. You did not get cheated on, dude. Like, she did not fuck Brock. Like, you know what I mean?
And he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. I'm
sentence.
sorry for everyone that thinks he's not allowed to point anything out because he did this horrible thing. Like I said, 2 things can be true. And Scheana, you asked for that. You've been asked, and quite frankly, I'm surprised it didn't come out sooner, because you have been going around acting as if you were Ariana.
Yes, she has.
You really have. And whether she subconsciously is doing it and is not aware, that's tricky to believe that she doesn't realize that she's making this about herself in the moment. However, the vitriol reaction you had to him saying that, the truth, because let's not pretend, I know we all want to forget, Scheana, that you didn't do what you did, but I don't believe that you didn't know that Eddie Cibrian was married. You know why? Because even I knew Eddie Cibrian was married. I didn't know who Brandy was at the time, but I knew him well enough as a D-list actor to know that he was married. So how is it that you, living in Los Angeles, had no inkling that this man was married? So you lied too. So the point is, you're writing this out as if you're the victim here, and you've been a Rachel to someone else, Brandy. Maybe you weren't best friends with her, but
I just felt like it was such. Here's the thing, though. If Sandoval didn't have a history of, as soon as he is called out for his shit, no matter how many times he's been called out ad nauseum, it doesn't matter. He always does the whataboutism, and he turns it around on everyone else instead of doing what she also said. If you had just kept your goddamn mouth shut at that reunion, when saying, no, you said on that speakerphone call, Scheana, when he was at the reunion last year, that you just punched that bitch. He should have kept his mouth shut.
But I believe him.
I don't know.
I believe him. And I'm not saying that it's wrong that she said that either. I'm not. But come on, girl. Come on. Stop acting like you were just... The fact that you pretty much erased Ariana from the vision of like who the victim here is astounding to me, by the way.
Well, but I loved that Brock made this point, and I made this point last week, that for Sandoval to be so pissy, and now is this whole song thing annoying as hell? Yes, I admit that fully. Because I'm not a team Sheener 9/10 of the time. I don't hate her, but she just drives me up the
I
wall.
don't hate her. She kind of is like a gnat sometimes.
I mean, the narcissism is.
Yeah.
But,
Bits
and I
pieces.
use that word specifically. It is very narcissistic behavior that she displays a lot of times.
If I were friends with Scheana, I would never be on a phone call with her. It would only be texting. I have to have control. I cannot be stuck in a situation where I'm talking to you about something and then somehow now we're crying about your OCD. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I just saw a very strange comment that said that it was disrespectful to animals to compare them to small humans. Well, I have a small human and I think you're disrespectful as fuck to compare an animal to my tiny human. So anyway, that's where I'm at today. Okay. I already said we're not doing that. So enough.
Reason why Georgia is not having kids.
And I would never that's the thing, is I would never try to convince someone to have a child if they didn't want one, but I certainly would never try and make someone feel as though animals are better than their children. Thank you very much. That being said, Brock made this very valid point that I made last week too. So it's like, yes, Sandoval being so upset about this stupid freaking Apple song when he was singing Schwartz's mom on his little tiny tour.
Raquel's just not the girl for me.
Dude, you were doing the same shit. Do you like?
I get it, but can I be honest with you? It makes more sense that Tom Sandoval, who's actually one of the key players, would be singing and saying shit like that. If I'm honest, it's weird. Sheena out of nowhere is like writing a song called Apples and talking about an affair that didn't happen. It's just
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree, but at the same time, the point is everyone here's a fucking hypocrite.
Oh, 1000%. That is
what
the big joke here, is that everyone is like doing this.
Yes, it's like the Spider-Man
themselves
meme.
Because everyone is an opportunist on this this friend group. I think Ariana knows that very clearly by now if she doesn't know it.
Yeah, it truly is that isn't it Spider-Man, the meme where they're like all pointing, it's like four of them pointing at each other. That's
they're
what
all
it
in the
makes me
room
think
pointing
of.
at each other. It's like, okay, guys, maybe this is what Lala's referring to at the reunion when she says people are not being honest.
Maybe. But this is the other thing for Sandoval, and this has to be considered, in my opinion. When Sandoval says,
dude, you were the other woman in a fucking relationship.
But let's not forget that if Sheena hadn't been in that relationship, I don't think Vanderpump Rules would have had the segue or the beginning that this show had. I think it could have happened eventually because obviously, you've seen all of that, but Sheena started this show.
To be fair to Sheena, you are correct. You are very correct, because the tie over from Beverly Hills at that point in Beverly Hills, we're talking Brandy was the biggest housewife in terms of being talked about, her relationship issue, the fact that Sheena, the woman that had the affair, is now on another show and works at Lisa Vanderpump's restaurant. That was a big deal. So yes, what her response should have been, rather than busting a bunch of neck veins, should have been to turn around and say, yes, you're welcome. Because if I didn't have that story, you wouldn't even be here right now.
Exactly.
And walk out. That's what I would have done. Yep, you're right. I was at one point. But I also gave you a fucking job. So you're welcome. And I would have told all of them there, you're welcome.
Yes, that would have, Sheena would have been elevated in my eyes. But the fact that then, Sheena was one of the few people who had been a day oneer with him that was really trying to, I don't know, crying, shaking. I'm not physically okay over my friendship with Sandoval all season. And then it was like to turn around and go with that blow. It's like he could have kept going with the fact that, what, are you just pissed you didn't get Dancing with the Stars? That would have been the real zinger, in my opinion.
I would have gone down the list. Are you mad you didn't get the sponsorships? The Dancing with the Stars? What else, Sheena? Don't you have a story to go read?
Because
if you're gonna react that way, Sheena, you need to come with something more than just.
It's true.
It's like, come on.
True.
Why are you still this angry that someone's pointing that out about you? You were. Whether you knew or not, we'll just give it to her.
Just
She didn't
say
know.
who cares at that
You
point.
still knew. You figured it out at some point, dear. So stop trying to negate that it happened. That's what I don't like.
Mhm.
I think that's not just her. A lot of these cast members seem to have amnesia conveniently when it comes to what other people on this cast are going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's wild.
Kelly asked down here real quick. Why did Scheana say Tom cheating makes her think Brock is with Lala? Well, it's something both she and James happen to end up in that moment, kind of agree with each other without even acknowledging each other fully, that their thought pattern and intrusive thoughts go down a spiral of, well, if that could happen with them, then it could happen to me. And again, Scheana, don't show your Scheana. I'm exhausted by her right now. She exhausts me.
The fact that you have that insecurity and you won't even go talk to your friend Lala, who's sitting right on the other side. What is wrong with you? You have her over there dazed and confused. She's hearing her name being like, now she's going to leave me for Lala. And Lala's like, what? I literally just went and purchased a tube of sperm. I don't want your man. Like, what are you talking about? Why isn't this a conversation between Lala and Scheana?
Exactly. Listen, Lala is a stunning person.
We're giving a lot of credit to Sandoval if we're going to give him the
thank you
of creating the concept of cheating. And now it's his fault that you fear that your man's going to leave because his face lights up a little more when Lala walks in the room. Well, that's a different conversation you should have with Brock then, dear.
Agreed.
I don't know what this has to do with Tom.
Agreed.
I just laughed when she said that.
So
she
did I.
It with such like passion too. Like she landed it so good. And it did not land with me. I was like, no,
like,
that's
why
your problem.
Exactly.
That's such a you problem. Yes, people have a responsibility once they know someone might be triggered by something to not go out of their way and do things that would trigger the person. But I've spent enough years in therapy. Your triggers, your feelings are your problem. They are not someone else's. They may have impacted them, but it's your problem to deal with. Why are you feeling that way? And why are you allowing someone else to control that much of your emotion?
I mean, why didn't Scheana go scream in Brad Pitt's face when he left Jennifer Aniston for Angelina?
Well, Scheana, did it matter when you were when Schwartz was forcing a kiss on you in Vegas while you were with Shay?
Mic drop, thank you.
Because you also were trying to play it like he just forced it on you, like he was essaying you a little bit. That's kind of how it felt. Like someone who just put themselves all over you, all of it. Like, oh no. What about Shay? What about Katie? Oh.
Well, in the way, again, like we said, the way she framed that, it sounded like Schwartz assaulted her. So make up your mind here, boo-boo. Well, don't worry though, friends. The preview for next week, she literally forgives Sandoval instantly.
Goodbye. Goodbye, Scheana. I don't want to hear another word out of you.
No. And I'm telling you, as we're wrapping up this episode, I'm going to make this something very clear to my dear besties here.
Oh boy.
If any of you try and come for me about the goddamn dog issue, I swear to fucking God, I am not here for it. I am a dog person. I love them, but get a fucking grip.
I just want to make
not
this
your
super
dog,
duper
it's his
clear,
dog.
everyone. We are not arguing about who's better in the situation. Where
No.
I'm surely not. So I hope that was not the message that was conveyed. I am not putting them on a comparison at all because you can't. I think I said that. There is a difference in that they shouldn't be in the same sentence is the point I think we're trying to make.
Yes.
Not one is better or more important than the other. I don't feel that way. And trust me, you would know. I think it's being misconstrued a little bit because the comparison was made on the show.
Yes. And that's what I'm tired of.
Used it as a way to say, well, what about you guys with your babies and you finding childcare? And so
it's apples and oranges.
But this isn't just a James versus the girl situation. This happens a lot. I've seen it on TikTok where people are commenting under people who have dogs that maybe treat their dogs in a way that are more humanistic.
But that's fine.
And to which I say, who gives a shit? But then on
That's
the other side,
fine.
you have parents commenting, being like, I'll just have a baby already. And
No.
it's like, no, that's not.
No.
Listen, let's
That
not
drives me nuts
police how
too.
other people choose to care for whatever it is they're caring for and prioritize, please. It's 2024. Everyone's
Exactly.
got full autonomy to make whatever decision for the most part. Sorry, ladies.
But
For the most part, you guys have some. It's not funny, but I had to make a
I
joke.
know. It was the way you
But
said it.
the truth is, I think if everyone just respected that they're different, obviously, like no one's birthing a dog as a human, so the experience is obviously different, guys. Yes, obviously, I'm obsessed. I'm a helicopter fur dad. That's fine.
Oh, listen.
You know, that's just the way it goes.
Y'all should have seen the stuff I have done for Ripley, okay? Don't even get me
Oh,
started.
don't do that. I'm not.
I mean,
You
it's
are
like
not being pegged as the mean old Dalmatian lady, okay? That's not what we're doing here.
Cruella. Yeah, that's why I'm
Yeah,
saying
right.
if y'all try and do that to me and be like, I'm on this side. No, because Giorgio and I are always on each other's side. That's what I think I need all of you to understand. He and I know how to have healthy debates. We
Oh
learned
my
that a long
God,
time
that's
ago.
what Bravo's all about.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
welcome debaters in my comment. I cannot stand people that go and delete comments that do not favor their opinion. I want all the opinions because I'm nosy. I want to see because sometimes I learn things from comments.
Yeah, I mean, it
Or I
gives you
change my
consideration.
perspective sometimes because someone will really thoughtfully explain something that I didn't
Exactly.
pick up on. So I always welcome a difference of opinion.
Same.
This
And
feels like we're trying to clean up your PR, and that's not what we're doing here. You
We're
didn't say
not.
anything about dogs.
I know. I'm like,
I
y'all,
don't know
come
why
on.
we're going down this rabbit hole. It's absolutely wackadoodle.
Well, but I still stand by. I think we can wrap that up with if James and Allie were just like a little more prepared. Lisa Vanderpump, if you had allowed them to be a little more prepared, they could have had a trainer ready to work with him
I
and
don't
the
even think
cats.
Lisa knows who Allie is, Caitlin. She
She
probably was
doesn't.
just like, who's that? Who? Is that your assistant? Oh, your
Raquel
girlfriend.
number 2. Well, my friends, we're gonna wrap up here. We just went on, and before I sneeze again or my eyeballs pop out from these allergies that I've talked about ad nauseum, I want to say hi to people before we go, and then I'm going to tell you where you can listen to Georgio's podcast. Hi, Tay. Hi, Miriam. Hi, Ellis. Hi, Sienna. Evangelina. I just said hi to Kelly. Hi, Adam. And hi, June. I see Dark Petals and Tears. It's your first time joining us live. Thank you so much for joining. And hi, Mindy. Thank y'all for joining us live on YouTube. If I didn't get to say hi to you, it was because, like I've said before, if you're not in the chat, I can't even see your name. But again, y'all, if you want the Valley recaps, go listen to Giorgio Says. We will be doing those recaps there, but Giorgio also recaps all the other shows, honey, and he gives all the gossip, the dish, and you can find. I may as well just do it for you if people can't figure out where to find you. By this point, he's at Giorgio Says on Instagram and TikTok for however long it's there. And he has his YouTube channel, Giorgio Says. Subscribe. And please hit the like button and subscribe to Besties by Bravo here on YouTube and follow me, Besties by Caitlin, Caitlin, on Instagram and TikTok for however long it's there. And leave a 5-star review because I have no shame. I'll give, here's a little smoocheroo, a big hug if you write a cute little caption with it. I love you all. Thank you, besties, for joining, and thank you for joining me and having a healthy debate with me, Giorgio.
Bye, guys.
See you Tuesday.